The smokehouse took shape slowly under the hot jungle sun. Daehyun worked with Sunwoo and Junho, their hands busy with salvaged materials and jungle wood. Other cadets stopped to watch. Some helped. Others shook their heads and walked away, still not believing this could work. Daehyun started with the frame. They used strong branches from the hardwood trees, lashed together with wire from the ship. The structure stood about 2 meters tall and 1 meter wide. Simple, rough, but sturdy. Why so tall? Sunwoo asked. His strength made the heavy lifting easy, but he wanted to understand. Heat and smoke rise, Daehyun explained. We hang the meat high up. The smoke passes around it for hours. If the chamber is too short, the smoke moves through too fast. It needs time to work. Junho helped attach the hull plating to the sides. His precise movements and sharp eyes caught every gap. No smoke should escape? Some will, Daehyun said. But most should stay inside, moving around the meat. Think of it like... He searched for a comparison they would understand. Like a medical chamber where medicine gas circulates around a patient. Same idea, different method. That seemed to make sense to them. Yuna, listening nearby with her scanner, nodded slowly. Gas exposure therapy. Very old medical technique. This is similar. The fire pit was the next challenge. Daehyun dug it 3 meters away from the smokehouse. The jungle soil was soft and wet, which made digging easier. He created a pit about 1/2 meter deep. The fire goes here, he said. Then we dig a trench connecting the pit to the smokehouse. The smoke travels through the trench underground. This cools it down. Hot smoke cooks the meat. We want cool smoke that preserves, clever, Sunwoo admitted. Using the earth as a cooling system. They dug the trench carefully. It angled slightly upward toward the smokehouse to help the smoke flow. Daehyun showed them how to cover the trench with flat stones and metal plates, creating a tunnel. At the smokehouse end, the tunnel opened into the chamber from below. Will this actually work? Hunyo asked. He sounded less doubtful now, more curious. It worked on my grandmother's farm, Daehyun said. It worked for humans on Earth thousands of years before space travel. It worked on dozens of colony worlds. It will work here. Inside the smokehouse, they installed racks made from salvaged mesh. The meat would hang from these, suspended in the smoke. Daehyun checked everything twice. The airflow, the gaps, the way smoke would move through the chamber. There, he said finally. It is ready. Hana brought the prepared meat. 6 large pieces from the animals they had hunted, each cut and trimmed. The meat was fresh, still good. But in this heat, it would spoil by morning if they did nothing. Daehyun hung each piece carefully on the racks. The meat dangled in the empty chamber, waiting. It looked strange to hang food in what was basically a wooden box, but this was how it had always been done. Now we start the fire, Daehyun said. He laid the fire carefully in the pit. Small pieces first, then larger ones. The wood they had selected was perfect. Dense. Dry enough to burn, but not so dry it would flame up. He wanted smoke, not fire. Junho helped light it using a fire starter from the survival kit. The flames caught quickly. Daehyun watched the wood begin to burn. Slowly, he added more pieces. The fire settled into a steady burn and smoke began to rise. White smoke drifted up from the pit, then got pulled into the trench opening. Daehyun knelt and watched it travel through the tunnel. A few seconds later, smoke began to seep out of the bottom of the smokehouse, filling the chamber. It is working, Sunwoo said. He sounded surprised. More cadets gathered to watch. The smoke rose through the chamber, swirling around the hanging meat, then drifting out through small gaps at the top. The smell was strong. Wood smoke, sharp and clean. Nothing like the electric smell of their technology or the sterile air of the ship. How long? Nari asked. She had been watching from a distance, evaluating. 12 to 18 hours, Daehyun said. Depends on the thickness of the meat and how much moisture is in the air. With this humidity, probably closer to 18. 18 hours, Taemin repeated. He made that clicking sound again. That seems very long for food preparation. It is not quick, Daehyun admitted. But it is reliable. And once it is done, the meat stays good for weeks, maybe longer in the right conditions. And you need to keep the fire going the whole time? Yuna asked. She was taking notes on her scanner. Yes, a steady fire. Not too hot, not too cool. I will watch it. Daehyun looked at the fire, then at the smokehouse. I will stay here tonight. I will help, Junho said. My people do not need much sleep. I can take a watch. Me too, Sunwoo added. If this works, I want to learn how to do it. As the day moved toward evening, the camp settled into a strange routine. Some cadets went about their usual tasks, Others kept coming back to watch the smokehouse, fascinated despite their doubts. The smoke drifted through the jungle, a thin white column that smelled like civilization, like human history, like something ancient and good. Daehyun fed the fire carefully. Too much wood and the temperature would rise. Too little and the smoke would stop. He found a rhythm, adding pieces every 20 minutes. His hands remembered the motion from years ago, from long summer days helping his grandmother. Hana brought him food at sunset. Emergency rations, the last of what was safe to eat. After tonight we will be out, she said quietly. This has to work. It will, Daehyun said. He felt the weight of those words. 23 people depending on him on this ancient method, on smoke and wood and knowledge passed down through generations. Night fell fast. The jungle came alive with sounds, animals calling, insects buzzing. The fire in the pit glowed orange, casting strange shadows. Daehyun sat beside it, feeding wood, watching smoke rise. Junho joined him, his large eyes seeing easily in the darkness. Tell me about your grandmother, he said. So Daehyun talked. He told stories about the farm, about learning to smoke meat and cure hides and grow vegetables without machines, about his grandmother's belief that humans needed to remember where they came from, about the satisfaction of making something with your own hands, of solving problems without technology. She sounds wise, Junho said. My people, we have always used technology. For thousands of years. We do not remember the old ways. Maybe we should. Maybe all species should, Daehyun said. Technology is good. But what happens when it fails? We should have backup plans that do not need machines. Sunwoo took the next watch while Daehyun rested, but Daehyun did not sleep much. He kept waking to check the fire, to smell the smoke, to make sure everything was going right. This was too important. Failure meant hunger. Hunger meant weakness. Weakness meant danger. The smoke continued through the night. Inside the smokehouse, invisible changes were happening. The meat was darkening, firming up. Moisture was leaving. The smoke compounds were bonding to the surface, creating a barrier against bacteria, science and tradition working together. Dawn came slowly, gray light filtering through the jungle canopy. Daehyun had kept the fire going all night. He was tired but satisfied. The smoke still rose steady and clean. More cadets gathered as morning progressed. They could smell the meat now. The wood smoke had given it a rich, savory smell. Nothing like their processed rations. This smelled real, organic, alive. How much longer? Nari asked. She looked tired too. Everyone was feeling the strain. Daehyun checked the smokehouse, studying the meat through the gaps. A few more hours. Maybe 3 or 4. It needs to be fully dried. And if it does not work, someone asked, then I will be sick by tomorrow, Daehyun said simply, and we try something else. But it will work. I know it will. Yuna set up her scanner near the smokehouse. I will test it thoroughly before anyone eats. Check for toxins, bacteria, everything. Good, Nari said. We take no chances. The morning stretched on. Daehyun kept the fire steady. Other cadets took turns watching, learning. Even Taemin came by, his forearms crossed, studying the process with grudging interest. I still think this is primitive, Taemin said. But I admit it is clever. Using basic chemistry and physics without any instruments. Humans are good at that, Hana said. She stood nearby, watching with pride. We had to be. We did not have natural armor or claws or forearms. We had big brains and hands that could use tools. So we learned to make fire work for us, to use smoke and salt and fermentation. We became very good at solving problems with simple solutions. Finally, after 18 hours, Daehyun declared the meat ready. He carefully removed one piece from the smokehouse. It was dark brown, almost black in places. The surface was dry and firm. The smell was incredible, rich and smoky. Everyone gathered around. This was the moment. Success or failure. Hope or disaster. Yuna scanned the meat carefully. Her face was hard to read. The seconds stretched out. Finally, she looked up. No bacteria, she said slowly. No toxins. Moisture content is very low. The meat is completely preserved. She sounded amazed. It actually worked. Daehyun cut a small piece from the smoked meat. Everyone watched as he put it in his mouth. The texture was firm and chewy. The taste was strong, smoky, with the flavor of the wood they had used. It was good. More than good. It was real food preserved without any machines, ready to keep them alive. Well? Nari asked. Perfect, Daehyun said. He cut more pieces and passed them around. Try it. One by one, the cadets tasted the smoked meat. Faces showed surprise, then pleasure. Even Taemin, who had doubted the most, made an approving sound after his first bite. This is actually good, Junho said. Better than rations. And it will stay good? Someone asked. For weeks, Daehyun confirmed. Maybe a month in these conditions. We just keep it dry and away from moisture. Yuna was still scanning. The preservation is complete. The smoke has created an antimicrobial barrier. The low moisture prevents bacterial growth. This is scientifically sound. She looked at Daehyun with new respect. Your grandmother was working with chemistry she probably did not have words for. But she understood it. She understood what worked, Daehyun said. That was enough. Nari made a decision. We expand operations immediately. Build 3 more smokehouses. Hunting parties go out daily. We process everything we catch. By the time rescue arrives, we should have a surplus. Relief swept through the camp. They had a solution. They would not starve. The primitive human method had saved them all, but success brought new problems. The second batch went into the smokehouses that afternoon. 4 structures now stood near the camp, smoke rising from each. The smell filled the area. More meat hung in the chambers, slowly transforming. But this batch would not be ready until the next day. 18 hours minimum. By evening, hunger was hitting hard. The emergency rations were completely gone. The small pieces of smoked meat they had tasted were not enough. Some cadets had not eaten a real meal in 2 days. Tempers grew short. Daehyun kept watch on the smokehouses with Junho and Sunwoo. They fed the fires, maintained the smoke, checked everything constantly. The meat inside was only 6 hours into the process. Removing it now would ruin everything. It would still be raw in the middle, not preserved, dangerous to eat. How much longer? Asked Yoonji, a Vortan cadet who had been quiet until now. She looked tired and hungry. Her red skin had paled. 12 more hours, Daehyun said gently. I know you are hungry. We all are. But if we take it out too early, it could make you sick. A little sickness is better than starvation, Yoonji said. But she walked away without pushing further. Others were not so patient. Around midnight, Daehyun heard voices raised in argument. He left Junho watching the fires and went to investigate. A group of 5 cadets stood near one of the smokehouses. One of them, a Krovar named Boran, had his hand on the door. Just a small piece, Boran was saying. The outside must be done. We can eat that part. No, Sunwoo said. He stood between Boran and the smokehouse, using his size to block the way. Daehyun said 18 hours. It has only been 8. Daehyun is not in charge, Boran snapped. I'm hungry. We are all hungry. That meat is just hanging there. Daehyun approached quickly. The outside might look done, but the inside is still raw. The smoke needs time to penetrate completely. If you eat it now, you will get sick. Trust me. Trust you? Boran turned on him. Why should we trust human superstition? You are making us wait while food is right there. It is not superstition, it is science, Daehyun said, keeping his voice calm. Yuna confirmed it. The process takes time. I know waiting is hard, but you have to be patient. Easy for you to say, another cadet muttered. Humans can eat almost anything. That was not quite true, but Daehyun did not argue. Look, I'm hungry too. We all are. But if we ruin this batch by taking it out too early, we waste everything. Those animals died for nothing. Please just wait until morning. Boran stared at him for a long moment. Then reluctantly he stepped back. Fine. But if we are still waiting tomorrow night, I am taking some whether you like it or not. The group dispersed, grumbling. Daehyun felt tension in his shoulders. This was going to be a long night. Nari found him an hour later. There is talk, she said quietly. People are scared. Hungry people do not think clearly. Can you speed up the process? No, Daehyun said. The chemistry cannot be rushed. If we use hotter smoke, we cook the meat instead of preserving it. If we use less time, bacteria can still grow inside. This is the minimum safe time. Nari nodded slowly. Then we protect the smokehouses. I will post guards. No one touches the meat until you say it is ready. Thank you. Do not thank me yet, Nari said. If this fails, they will blame you. And me for trusting you. She left to organize the guards. Daehyun returned to the fires. Junho sat nearby, his large eyes reflecting the flames. Will they really try to take the meat? Junho asked. Hunger makes people desperate, Daehyun said. But we are close now. Just a few more hours, the night grew darker. The jungle sounds intensified. Howls in the distance, rustling in the undergrowth. Something was moving out there, attracted by the smell of smoke and meat. Around 3 in the morning, Daehyun heard a new sound. A low growl, deep and threatening. Junho stood up, his feathers rising in alarm. "Something big," Junho whispered. "Coming this way." Daehyun grabbed a piece of burning wood from the fire. "Light and weapon both. Wake the others quietly." The creature emerged from the jungle shadows. It was massive, easily 3 meters long. 6 legs, thick armor plates, jaws that looked like they could crush metal. Its eyes fixed on the smokehouses, on the source of that tempting smell. Other cadets came running. Nari arrived with a makeshift spear. Sunwoo carried a heavy piece of pipe. They formed a line between the creature and the smokehouses. The predator growled again. It was hungry, attracted by the smell of meat. It did not care about the small beings in its way. "Do not let it reach the smokehouses," Nari ordered. "We cannot lose this food," the creature charged. Fast for something so large. Cadets scattered. Daehyun swung his burning wood, driving it at the creature's face. The flames made it hesitate, eyes blinking against the bright light. "Fire!" Daehyun shouted. "Get more fire!" Others grabbed burning wood. They formed a circle of flame around the smokehouses. The creature paced back and forth, wanting the meat but afraid of the fire. It snapped its jaws, frustrated. Then Daehyun had an idea. He grabbed armfuls of green wood and threw them on the fires. The wood did not burn clean. It created thick, heavy smoke that billowed up in clouds. The smoke rolled toward the creature, engulfing it. The predator backed away, coughing and snarling. It did not like the smoke. Its eyes watered. It shook its massive head, trying to clear its nose and throat. "More smoke," Daehyun called. Others added green wood. The smoke grew thicker, a wall between them and the predator. Finally, the creature gave up. It turned and crashed back into the jungle, still coughing. The sounds of its retreat faded slowly. Everyone stood breathing hard. Adrenaline fading. Daehyun checked the smokehouses. Undamaged. The meat was safe. "The smoke drove it away," Yuna said, amazed. "The same smoke preserving our food also protected us." "Smoke has many uses," Daehyun said. He was shaking now that the danger had passed. "My grandmother used to burn green wood to keep insects and animals away from the farm." Old knowledge, simple, but it works. Nari looked at him with something like wonder. "Every time I think I understand the limits of this technique, you show me something new." "There is a lot humans learned in thousands of years," Hana said proudly. "We are just remembering it." The rest of the night passed without incident. The fires burned steady. The smoke rose. Inside the chambers, the meat continued its slow transformation. Time passed second by second, minute by minute. Dawn came. Daehyun checked the smokehouses carefully. 18 hours. Maybe a little more. He opened the first chamber and removed a piece of meat. He cut into it. The interior was the same dark color as the exterior. Firm throughout. The smell was perfect. "It is done," he announced. Cadets gathered quickly. This time there was no hesitation. They took the meat and ate. Really ate. The first real meal in days. The taste was strong and smoky, but it was food. Real, safe, preserved food. Even Boren, who had nearly raided the smokehouse the night before, ate with obvious relief. "I was wrong," he admitted to Daehyun. "This is good. Thank you for making us wait." Daehyun just nodded. He was too tired to feel triumphant. But he felt satisfied. They had food now. Enough to last until rescue. Maybe enough to share. Nari called another meeting after everyone had eaten. "We need to increase production," she said. "Daehyun, teach everyone your methods. We build more smokehouses, hunt more, process more. We should have surplus for any emergency." "I will teach anyone who wants to learn," Daehyun said. Yoonji raised her hand. "I want to learn to manage the fires. I watched last night. I think I understand the temperature control." Others volunteered too. The doubtful had become believers. The primitive human method was now their survival strategy. As the meeting ended and work groups formed, Daehyun felt something shift in the camp. They were not just surviving now. They were thriving. And they were doing it together. The meeting started badly. Nari called everyone together just after dawn. The air was already hot and heavy. Everyone looked tired and hungry. The food situation had gotten worse overnight. Only 2 days of safe rations remained, and rescue was still more than 2 weeks away. "We need solutions," Nari said. Her scales had lost some of their shine. Even she was feeling the strain. Anyone have ideas? Several cadets spoke up. Most suggestions involved salvaging more technology from the wreckage. Taman wanted to repair the stasis generator. Yunho thought they could rig a cooling system from the ship's parts. But Yuna shook her head at every idea. The stasis generator's core is cracked, she explained. We would need a parts fabricator to fix it. The cooling systems need power cells we do not have. We are working with basic tools and no real workshop. Then what do we do? Someone asked. The voice sounded scared. Daehyun took a breath. This was his moment. I have an idea. It is old, very old, but it works. Everyone turned to look at him. Daehyun felt his face get warm, but he kept talking. We can smoke the meat. Use fire and wood smoke to preserve it. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Taman made a clicking sound that meant confusion in his language. Smoke? You mean combustion byproducts? You want to expose our food to that? Yes, Daehyun said. Controlled smoke from the right kind of wood. It has chemicals that kill bacteria. It pulls moisture out of the meat. Without moisture, bacteria cannot grow. The meat stays good for weeks, even in heat like this. Nari tilted her head. Her translator was probably struggling with some of the words. This is a human technique? Very human, Hana spoke up. She moved to stand beside Daehyun. Humans used it for thousands of years before we developed modern preservation. It is proven to work. Proven? Yuna asked. She sounded doubtful. By what science? My people have sensitive digestive systems. Toxins from burning wood could make us sick. The smoke is not random, Daehyun explained. He wished he had his grandmother here. She could explain it better. You use specific woods, hardwoods that burn clean. The smoke contains compounds like phenols and formaldehyde in tiny amounts. These preserve the meat, and you control the temperature. Too hot and you cook the meat. Too cool and it takes too long. This sounds primitive, Taman said. Several others made sounds of agreement. We are trained to use advanced methods. This is going backward. Daehyun felt frustration building in his chest. Backward or forward does not matter if we starve. Advanced technology is great when it works. Right now it does not work. We need something that works with what we have. Fire, wood, meat. That is all we need. And knowledge, Hana added. Knowledge that only humans seem to have kept. Junho spoke for the first time. His voice was quiet. What if it does not work? What if the meat goes bad anyway or makes us sick? We waste food we could eat now. That was a fair question. Daehyun had expected it. We do a test. Take 2 animals from the next hunt. Smoke one, leave one fresh. Compare them after 12 hours. The fresh one will be rotting. The smoked one will be safe. I will eat it first to prove it. Nari looked at him for a long time. Her golden eyes did not blink. Daehyun held her gaze. He needed her to trust him. To trust this ancient human method that probably seemed insane to a species that had been using stasis fields for 1,000 years. Explain the process, Nari finally said. Step by step, Daehyun felt relief wash through him. First we hunt. Then we process the meat into strips or chunks. We build a smoking chamber using materials from the ship in the jungle. We create a fire pit away from the chamber and channel the smoke through a trench or pipe. This cools the smoke. Hot smoke cooks the meat. Cool smoke preserves it. We hang the meat in the smoke for 12 to 18 hours depending on thickness. The meat darkens. It gets firm. Smells like wood smoke. Then it is done. And you learned this where? Taman asked. He still sounded suspicious. From my grandmother, Daehyun said. She ran a farm on a colony world. No power grid, no modern tech by choice. She believed in the old ways. Every summer we would smoke meat for the winter. I helped her from when I was 6 years old until I left for the academy. Yuna tapped her scanner thoughtfully. The science is sound, I suppose. Smoke does have antimicrobial properties. Dehydration does prevent bacterial growth. But the variables worry me. Wrong wood could be toxic. Wrong temperature could create dangerous conditions. That is why we test it, Daehyun said. That is why I eat it first. Sunwoo raised one massive hand. I will help build this smokehouse. I am good with construction, and I am hungry enough to try anything. A few others murmured agreement, but Daehyun could see doubt on many faces. They were academy cadets, trained in the latest technology and methods. Using smoke and wood to preserve food probably sounded like witch magic to them. Nari made a decision. We try it. 1 test batch. Daehyun leads the project. Sunwoo assists. Huno, your eyes are sharp. You help select safe wood. Yuna, you monitor the process scientifically. Document everything. If it works, we expand. If it fails... She did not finish the sentence. They all knew what failure meant. The meeting ended. Some cadets looked hopeful. Others looked skeptical. A few looked angry, as if Daehyun had insulted them by suggesting something so primitive. Taemin stopped Daehyun as everyone dispersed. I think this is a waste of time, he said. His forearms crossed in a gesture that showed disapproval. But I will help hunt if you need it. We need solutions, even strange ones. It was not quite an endorsement, but Daehyun would take it. Thank you. I need good hunters. The hunting party left an hour later. Taemin led them, moving through the jungle like he was born there. Daehyun went with them along with Junho and 2 others. The jungle was thick and dangerous. Plants with thorns, mud that tried to suck off their boots, insects that bit and stung, but there were animals too. Large creatures that looked like a cross between a pig and a deer. They traveled in small groups. Taemin and the others brought down 2 of them quickly. Clean kills. The animals were heavy, maybe 80 kilos each. They carried the animals back to camp. Daehyun showed them how to process the meat. Remove the organs. Separate the good parts. Cut it into strips that would smoke evenly. Some cadets watched with fascination. Others looked away, uncomfortable with the bloody work. Your grandmother taught you this too? Hana asked. She was helping him cut. Everything, Daehyun said. She said humans forgot too much when we joined the galaxy. We got so excited about alien technology that we threw away thousands of years of our own knowledge. She said that was dangerous. What happens when the technology fails? Do we just die? Smart woman, Hana said. While they processed the meat, Sunwoo and Junho worked on selecting wood. Daehyun walked with them, testing different types. He looked for hardwood, dense and dry enough to burn slow. He smelled each piece. Wrong wood would ruin everything. This one, he said finally, pointing to a tree with dark bark. And this one. Not the green wood. Not the soft wood. These will burn clean. Junho's sharp eyes spotted something else. There are berries on some of these plants. Are they safe? Yuna scanned them. Non-toxic to most of us. But they do not matter for the smoking, do they? No, Daehyun agreed. But good to know for later. By afternoon, they had everything ready. Meat prepared. Wood collected. Now came the hard part, building the smokehouse itself. Daehyun stood looking at the materials they had. Broken hull plates, salvaged mesh, pieces of the ship that would never fly again but might save their lives in a different way. He closed his eyes and remembered his grandmother's smokehouse. The shape. The airflow. The way smoke moved and heat rose. When he opened his eyes, he knew what to do. Here, he said, pointing to a spot near the camp but not too close. We build it here. As the sun moved across the sky, something began to take shape. Something that looked nothing like advanced technology. Something that looked primitive and rough. But as Daehyun worked, he felt certain. This would work. It had to work. Because if it did not, they were all going to go hungry. And in the jungle, hungry meant dangerous. Hungry meant desperate. Hungry meant mistakes that could get people killed. The smokehouse grew, and Daehyun worked. The camp transformed over the next 3 days. What had been a desperate group of hungry cadets became an organized operation. Smoke rose from 6 smokehouses now, thin white columns reaching up through the jungle canopy. The smell of wood smoke filled the air constantly, mixing with the wet green smell of the jungle itself. Daehyun found himself teaching constantly. Cadets came to him with questions about wood selection, fire temperature, meat preparation. He showed them everything his grandmother had taught him. The knowledge that had seemed so old and useless at the academy was now the most valuable thing he possessed. Yoonji proved to be a natural at managing the fires. She had a sense for the right temperature, the exact amount of wood to add, the perfect timing. Daehyun watched her work with approval. Her red skin had regained its healthy color now that she was eating regularly. How do you know when to add more wood? Unyo asked her. He was learning too, his sharp eyes studying every detail. You watch the smoke, Yoonji explained. See how it rises? Steady and white. If it gets too thin, the temperature is dropping. If it gets thick and dark, you added too much. You want steady, clean smoke? Like breathing, Junho said. Steady and regular. Exactly, the hunting parties went out every day now. Taemin led most of them. His forearms and natural stealth made him an excellent hunter. They tracked the pig-like creatures through the jungle, learning their habits and patterns. The kills were clean and quick. Sunwoo organized the processing. His strength made the heavy work easier, but he had also become skilled at the butchering. He showed others how to cut the meat properly, removing bones and separating muscle groups. Everything was done efficiently with minimal waste. My people built cities, Sunwoo said one afternoon while working. Towers that reached the clouds. Ships that crossed galaxies. But this? He gestured at the meat he was preparing. This is more satisfying. Working with my hands, creating something real. I never understood this feeling before. Yuna had appointed herself the quality control expert. She tested every batch of smoked meat with her scanner before it went into storage. She documented everything: smoking times, wood types, weather conditions, results. She was building a database of knowledge that combined Daehyun's traditional methods with her scientific precision. Look at this, she told Daehyun one evening. Her scanner displayed complex data. The smoke compounds bond to the meat proteins here, here, and here. The dehydration creates a hostile environment for microorganisms. The low pH from the wood acids further inhibits growth. It is elegant. Simple chemistry but perfectly effective. My grandmother would have liked you, Daehyun said. She always said there was science in the old ways, even if people did not know the scientific words. She was right, Yuna said. This is chemistry, biology, physics all working together. We just forgot we could do it without machines. The food storage became impressive. They built a dry shelter using salvaged hull plates. Inside, smoked meat hung from racks protected from the humidity. Batch after batch accumulated. By the 5th day after the first successful smoking, they had more food than they could eat in a month. Nari did an inventory with Daehyun. We have 48 kilos of preserved meat, she reported. For 23 people. That is more than enough until rescue, even if they are late. We should keep producing, Daehyun suggested. What if rescue is delayed? What if something happens to what we have? Agreed. We continue operations but at a reduced rate. 2 smokehouses instead of 6. That gives people time for other tasks. The camp had changed in other ways too. People smiled more. They joked while working. The fear and desperation had faded. Success bred confidence. They were not just surviving. They were doing well. Even Taemin admitted the change. I was wrong about your method, he told Daehyun. I thought relying on primitive techniques was foolish. But I see now that simple is not the same as stupid. Sometimes the simple solution is the best solution. Technology is great, Daehyun said, but it should not make us forget basic skills. What if our ancestors had not remembered these methods? What if humans had abandoned all old knowledge when we got to space? We would have starved here. My people abandoned much, Taemin said thoughtfully. We have been technological for so long. We do not remember how to do anything without machines. Maybe that is dangerous. Maybe, Daehyun agreed. The work settled into a rhythm. Hunt in the morning, process in the afternoon, smoke overnight, check and store in the morning, repeat. It was hard work but satisfying. Everyone had a role. Everyone contributed. Boren, who had nearly raided the smokehouse that first desperate night, became one of the best fire tenders. He had a patience Daehyun had not expected. I am sorry I doubted you, he told Daehyun. I was scared and hungry. I did not think clearly. We were all scared, Daehyun said. You do not need to apologize. Still, you trusted your knowledge when everyone doubted. That took courage. Junho discovered something interesting on the 7th day. He had been ranging farther from camp, scouting. He returned excited. There are fruits growing 2 kilometers north. Large fruits. Yuna, can you check if they are safe? Yuna went with him to collect samples. She scanned them thoroughly. Safe for most of us. High in sugars and vitamins? This is excellent. They began collecting the fruits daily. Combined with the smoked meat, they now had a balanced diet. Better nutrition than the emergency rations would have provided. Hana monitored everyone's health. No malnutrition, she reported. No deficiencies. Everyone is actually healthier than when we crashed. The fresh food is better than processed rations. My grandmother always said that too, Daehyun said. Real food is better than synthetic. Our bodies know how to use it. On the 10th day after the crash, something unexpected happened. A small group of local animals began hanging around the edge of camp. They were small creatures, furry with large eyes, curious but timid. They are attracted to the smoke, Yuna observed. It keeps away the insects that bother them. They feel safer near us. The creatures became unofficial camp pets. They did not approach closely, but they stayed nearby, watching the activities. Yunho named the bravest one Tiny, even though it was not particularly small. Life is drawn to the smoke, Junho said. We are drawn to it for food. They are drawn to it for safety. Fire and smoke are powerful tools. The first tools, Daehyun said. Humans mastered fire hundreds of thousands of years ago. Before writing. Before cities. Before anything else. Fire was the beginning of civilization. And here we are, Hana added, using it to build a new civilization in the jungle. The smokehouses had become more than food production. They were gathering places. Cadets sat around the fires in the evening, talking and sharing stories. Different species learned about each other. They discovered commonalities they had not known existed. Yoonji taught others a Vortan song about harvest time. Sunwoo shared stories of his people's ancient builders. Taemin described the hive structures his ancestors had lived in before they developed technology. Even Nari, usually so formal, relaxed enough to talk about her childhood. This is what my grandmother's farm was like, Daehyun said one evening. Everyone sat around the largest fire pit. The smokehouses glowed in the background. People working together, sharing food, telling stories. It was simple, but it was good. We have lost something, Nari said quietly. In our rush to advance technology and space travel, we forgot how to be like this. Connected, working with our hands. Relying on each other instead of machines. Not just your people, Hana said. Humans too, most of us. Daehyun's grandmother was unusual for keeping the old ways alive. Most human colonies are as technological as anyone else's. But the knowledge survived, Yuna pointed out. Because some humans remembered. Because they valued the past even while moving into the future. All species should do that, Junho said. Remember where we came from. Keep some of the old skills alive. Just in case. Just in case we crash in a jungle, Sunwoo said with a laugh. Just in case technology fails, Taemin corrected. Which it will, eventually. Nothing is perfect forever. On the 12th day, Nari called a formal meeting. Rescue will arrive in approximately 1 week, she announced. We are in excellent condition. We have surplus food. No serious injuries, no deaths. Against all odds, we have thrived here. Cheers went up from the gathered cadets. But Daehyun noticed the cheers were not as loud as he expected. People had adapted to jungle life. Some seemed almost sad that rescue was coming. I will be recommending several cadets for commendations, Nari continued. Particularly Daehyun for the knowledge and leadership that saved us all. But also Yoonji, Sunwoo, Junho, Yuna, and others who learned quickly and contributed greatly. More cheers. This time Daehyun felt his face get warm. He had not done it for recognition. He had done it because it needed doing. After the meeting, cadets came to thank him personally. Some wanted to stay in touch after they returned to the academy. Others wanted to learn more about human traditional knowledge. A few talked about studying old techniques from their own species. You started something, Hana told him. Not just here. This will spread. The story of how primitive human methods saved an academy training group. It will make people think. Good, Daehyun said. People should think about these things. Technology is wonderful, but we should not depend on it completely. The ship hit the canopy like a stone thrown into deep water. Metal screamed against wood and vine. Daehyun grabbed his seat as the world spun sideways. The emergency lights flickered red, then died completely. When everything finally stopped moving, the only sound was his own breathing and the steady drip of water somewhere in the darkness. Everyone alive? Nari's voice cut through the quiet. She was the squad leader, a Valesian with green scales and eyes that could see in almost no light. Her voice stayed calm even now. Voices answered from different parts of the crashed vessel. Most were scared but unhurt. Daehyun unbuckled his harness and stood on shaky legs. He was human, which meant he was one of only 2 humans in the whole training group. The other was Hana, the medical officer. She was already moving through the wreckage with her emergency kit. 3 broken bones, multiple cuts, but everyone will live, Hana reported after 20 minutes. She worked quickly, her hand steady. Daehyun helped her move the injured to a clear area. Outside, the jungle pressed against the broken hull. Thick green leaves blocked most of the sunlight. The air felt like breathing hot soup. Daehyun's uniform stuck to his skin within seconds. He watched the alien cadets struggle with the heat. Yuno, who had feathers and came from a cold world, looked miserable. His bright blue plumage drooped. Taemin, who looked like a large insect with 4 arms, was the first to scout outside. He returned quickly. The jungle is dense. No clearing for a rescue ship to land. They will need to find us by signal. Nari nodded. She was always thinking, always planning. Activate the emergency beacon. How long until rescue? 3 weeks, Taemin said. Maybe less if we are lucky. 3 weeks. Daehyun felt his stomach tighten. He looked at the cargo area where their supplies were stored. The containers had broken open during the crash. Food packets lay scattered across the wet floor. The first day passed in a blur of activity. They set up a camp inside the most intact section of the ship. They organized the supplies. They treated injuries. They counted everything they had. The second day, Yuna discovered the problem. She was Phelion, an aquatic species with smooth blue skin. She worked as their biologist. She knelt beside the food containers with a small scanner in her hand. Her face told Daehyun everything before she spoke. The preservation system is dead, Yuna said. The stasis field generator broke in the crash. And this humidity, she gestured at the air, at the water that seemed to hang everywhere. Our food is already spoiling. Nari came to look. So did several others. Daehyun joined them. He could smell it now that he knew what to look for. That slightly off smell, the beginning of rot. How bad? Nari asked. Yuna checked her scanner again. 40% of the protein rations are already unsafe. Another 30% will be unsafe by tomorrow. The heat and moisture are perfect for bacteria growth. What about the remaining 30%? Someone asked. Maybe 5 days if we are careful, Yuna said. She looked worried. But we need protein. We cannot survive 3 weeks on energy bars alone. That night they held a meeting. 23 cadets from 8 different species sat in a circle. Some could eat the jungle plants. Taemin's people could digest almost anything, but most needed meat or protein. Without it, they would grow weak. They might not survive long enough for rescue. We can hunt, suggested Sunwoo, a Thranian who was big and strong. The jungle has animals. I saw them. And how do we keep the meat fresh? Nari asked. Any kill will spoil in hours in this heat. We cannot eat a whole animal before it rots. We would waste most of it. Silence fell over the group. This was the problem. Their technology had always handled food preservation. Stasis fields, chemical treatments, freeze-drying. But all of that required equipment they did not have. Equipment that now lay broken in the wreckage. Daehyun sat quietly and listened. He thought about home. Not the academy, but his real home. The farming colony where he grew up. His grandmother's farm on the edge of civilized space. He remembered summers there before he joined the academy. Remembered his grandmother and her old ways. The third day was worse. More food went bad. They had to throw it away before it made someone sick. The smell attracted insects, huge things that buzzed loud and bit hard. The heat did not let up. Everyone was hungry, tired, and starting to argue. Daehyun went for a walk around the camp perimeter. He needed to think. The jungle was beautiful in a dangerous way. Huge trees with thick trunks, vines hanging like ropes, flowers that glowed softly in the shadows, and everywhere that wet heat that made metal sweat and food rot. He found Hana checking her medical supplies. She looked up when he approached. We are going to have a problem soon, she said. Hungry people make mistakes. Hungry people get sick easier, and some species need more protein than others. Junyo and Nari can go longer without food, but the Phelians need to eat regularly. Daehyun nodded. He had been thinking the same thing. Hana, do you remember human history? Before we had technology? She looked at him curiously. Some of it, why? How did humans keep food fresh? Before we had machines? Hana thought for a moment. Salting. Drying in the sun, smoking, fermentation, cold storage, and ice caves. She paused. We do not have salt or ice caves. But we have fire, Daehyun said. And we have wood. Understanding slowly crossed Hana's face. You want to smoke the meat? Like they did in ancient times. It worked for thousands of years, Daehyun said. It could work now. The others will think you are crazy, Hana warned. They rely on technology. The idea of using smoke to preserve food will sound like superstition to them. Maybe, Daehyun agreed. But right now we are watching good protein rot because our technology failed. My grandmother fed 100 people every harvest season with nothing but a smokehouse and knowledge passed down through generations. Hana smiled a little. It was the first smile Daehyun had seen in days. Then we better convince Nari, because if we do not do something soon, people will start getting desperate. That evening, Daehyun watched the sunset through the jungle canopy. The light turned everything golden, then red, then purple. Night came fast and complete, the jungle filled with new sounds. Animals calling, insects singing, the steady drip of water. Tomorrow he would talk to Nari. Tomorrow he would try to explain something that his people had known for thousands of years, but that the galaxy had forgotten. Tomorrow he would see if ancient human knowledge could save 23 cadets from 8 different worlds. He touched the emergency rations in his pocket. They would run out soon. Time was running out. But Daehyun had a plan, even if it sounded primitive and strange. Sometimes the old ways were the best ways. He just had to make the others believe it too. The jungle breathed around him, alive and dangerous and beautiful. Somewhere in the darkness, something howled. Daehyun listened and began to plan.